Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Sunday show where I basically look at the hottest Golden Age comics of the week. And strap yourselves in. I don't know what to say, but strap yourselves in. This is going to be a roller coaster. This is going to be all over the place. This is a crazy, crazy, crazy list. This is looking at the Heritage Prime auction, which had her historic high sales and maybe historic low sales. This is one of the weirdest auctions I've ever seen. And you're going to see this theme repeated tomorrow. You're going to see this same theme tomorrow as well, because I'm looking at it on my Silver Age list as well. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, because it's it's crazy. It's all over the place. Yeah, let's get into it though. First on the list, number 10 on the list is Famous Funnies number 1. This is from Eastern Color, 1934. So technically not really Golden Age, but technically very important comic. This is actually the first published monthly comic. So this is it. This is where it starts. It was actually reprinting news strips, but Famous Funnies was a very long running series. And this is the one that started it all. This is the first comic, really. And this is a Gerber 9. Very rare comic. And it was a 5.0 that sold. And it sold for $21,000, which is down. The previous record for this book was set back in December of 2023 for $25,000. However, this book has been sort of on a very downswing. I don't know. There was a 4.0 that just sold in April of 2025 for $7,200. So this one's kind of like, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a really weird one, because you'd expect, based on the 4.0 sale, maybe you'd expect maybe around 8 to 9,000 based on the recent sale. But based on the record sale, you expect this book to be more in that $30,000 range. So kind of a weird one. I think it's low, but for what it is, it's a major book. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say. So this is what the whole list is going to be like. I don't know what's going on. It's just a messed up auction. There are 48 of these on the census, and 29 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 9 on the list is Archie Comics number 1. This is from MLJ, 1942. It is also from this is going to be from the Olympia collection, and it's a Bob Montana cover, classic Archie artist. It's also the first appearance of Miss Andrews. I think that's Archie's teacher. Kind of a cool first appearance. And this was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $24,000, which is a steal. Somebody basically stole this book at that price, because the previous record for this book was set back in December of 2021 for $48,000. So about half what it had sold for before. You actually have to go all the way back to 2012 to get a similar priced version of this book. So there was one that sold back then for $23,200. So, I mean, that's like 13 years ago price almost. That's insane how cheap this one went. I'm not sure why. It's a great book, very hard one to find. Even though there's 75 of these on the census and 58 of them are Universal Blue Labels, it is a hard book to find. It comes up usually in these prime kind of auctions, but not one that you see that often. Number 8 on the list is Phantom Lady 17. This is from Fox Features Syndicate, 1948. It is a Matt Baker cover, and it is one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. It's a great bondage cover, headlight cover. He actually mentioned it because it's a headlight cover, and with the added feature of the bondage, he thought it was like a sadistic fantasy, kind of like the, that sex and violence. He kind of felt that it was being put together in one cover, and this was one of those things that's corrupting the youth of America. This book is so important, not just for the golden age, but for Matt Baker. This is considered to be Matt Baker's most valuable comic cover. I always argue whether it's fully a Matt Baker, but maybe Al Felstein did a bit of the headlighting on the cover, but this one is a major Matt Baker cover, by far his most expensive book. And this one did not disappoint. This was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $31,200. And it also has pink pages. So that's another one of these cool Fox feature elements. They use pink paper, and on the paper you'd see sometimes the bleed through, where you'd see this kind of pink kind of coming through from the pink pages. It's a weird thing. Use the cheapest materials. The previous record for this book was set back in June of 2024 for $28,320. So it's up, a good 10% in the last year. So that's a strong sale. It actually had dipped slightly. In November of 2024, it dropped to $24,207. So this is kind of going back up to where it had previously sold and added a little extra. So very strong sale for this book. There's 121 of these on the census, and 112 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 7 on the list is Captain America number 3. This is from Timely 1941. It is an Alex Schomburg cover, classic Cap cover, some bondage, like just all the elements that we kind of associate with Timely and Alex Schomburg's collaboration. Great stuff. However, this book is not, a big book because of that. It is a big book because it is the very first text story by Stan Lee. So this is where Stan Lee, got his start. Very important book for Marvel collectors because Stan Lee was such a major influence on Marvel, and this is where he got his start. So this was a 5.5 signed copy, and it sold for $31,200. It was actually signed Stan Lee by Stan Lee, obviously, and he put Excelsior on it as well. So kind of key Stan Lee thing. I actually don't necessarily like the signature on this one because it does kind of detract from the image. I think it's such a strong Alex Schomburg image that I'm not sure if I really like the signature on it because the signature is quite big. But that's me. I'd like to hear people's opinion. Do you like the signature or do you not like the signature? I think it distracts from the visuals of the book. But this is up. This is the only sale for a signed Stan Lee 5.5. But there was a 9.4 that sold back in September of 2024. And it was a 9.4, and it sold for $28,800. So this is way up from that 9.4 sale. And we can compare it though, because that's, a 9.4. I mean, this is a strong sale. However, there was actually a blue label that sold in January of 2025, so just this year, for $26,400. So if you kind of do the math, Stan Lee's signature added about $5,000 to the price of this book. So not too bad for a little messed up scratch on on the cover of the book. So this is also from the John Burke collection. Add a little bit of not a pedigree, but a little cool thing as well. John Burke was a kind of a very influential collector within the hobby. Just a cool book. So that one was a strong sale. So 131 of these are on the census, and 70 are Universal Blue Labels. Number 6 on the list is Contact Comics number 12. This is from Aviation Press, 1946. It's an L.B. Cole cover, and it is a classic one. Probably one of the most desired sci-fi covers of all, I would say. This is just really classic sci-fi book. The interesting thing about Aviation Press is it would mainly show planes on the cover, and this is kind of a L.B. Cole just having a bit of fun, where he loves sci-fi and he wanted to have a sci-fi cover, so he made a sci-fi cover instead of the typical planes that he normally did. This is a really cool cover for that. This was a 9.0 that sold, and it sold for $38,400. This was from the Mile High pedigree as well, so high grade. Mile High is like kind of some of the best quality comics out there. That pedigree. The previous record for this book in this grade was set back in 2018, like November of 2018, where it sold for $12,000. So this is up almost, actually it is up 3 times, a little bit more than 3 times from what it sold for back then. And just to give you a sense of how strong of a sale this was, there was an 8.0 that sold back in January of 2025 for $18,000. So for 1 grade point higher, you got basically double the price. So this is a very strong sale for this book. And so, as I said, Rollercoaster, strap yourselves in because it's all over the place, up, down, all over the place. This was a very strong sale. There are 67 of these on the census, and 62 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 5 on the list is a book I really love, and this one shocked me in a way. This was Wonder Woman number 1, and this was from DC, 1942. It's a H.G. Peter cover, and it's the first titled Wonder Woman book. It's also the first appearance of Ares. And this is such a classic cover. It's World War II cover. It's her riding a horse across the field to go into the ditch. It almost looks like World War I, but it's supposed to be World War II. I don't really get it personally, but it's supposed to be World War II actually, but it's World War I style cover. I don't know. Okay, but it is cool. It is a cool book, and this one really didn't do well. It was a 6.0 white pager, and it sold for $40,800. That is way, way down. Okay. The previous record for this book was $58,556 back in March of 2019. Now, that previous sale in a way maybe was a bit artificial because there was a lot of hype around Wonder Woman at that time because there was the movie coming out. Now, the movie, was released during COVID. It didn't really perform well, and there has been a bit of a price correction on Wonder Woman books where they were negatively impacted. But still, I would have expected this book to sell for around $60,000. However, there was a recent sale a few months back, early 2025, for the exact same price, so $40,800. So it's in line with that recent sale, but I still felt like this was a bit of a steal. I really would have expected this to sell for that $60,000 range. And there's a little bit more evidence to why I think that is the case. There was a 2.0 that also sold on the same auction, so not even like any time difference really, where there was a 2.0 that sold for $20,000. So based on the 2.0 sale, you would expect this one to sell for about $60,000. So I don't know. Which would you prefer, a 2.0 or a 6.0? It's like, no, it's a no-brainer to me. I don't know. Very shocking sale. I really felt like this one was a little bit low. There are 209 of these on the census, and 135 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 4 on the list is Marvel Mystery Comics number 46. This is from Timely 1943. It's an Alex Schomburg cover, and it's a classic one. This is my favorite Hitler cover. You got Hitler with this enormous head. Looks like an apple. He's got a worm crawling out of his ear. He's on a throne of skulls and bones. You got the couple, like Bucky and some girl, and they're dangling over what looks like a grinder of some kind, like it's gonna like chew them up. And it's a great bondage thing. You got the Human Torch flying in, melting one guy. You got a whole bunch of these like I don't know, German zombie-like creatures all over the place. It is a crazy cover. It's like such an awesome cover. As I said, this is by far my favorite Hitler cover. Just such a crazy cover. And this was a 8.0 that sold, so a nice high-grade copy of it. And it sold for $48,120. This is the only sale for this book in this grade. However, it is a weak sale. It is a weak sale because there was a 7.5 that sold in June of 2025, so just recently, for $60,000. So based on that 7.5 sale, I would have expected this one to sell for around 64,000, maybe 60, maybe 70,000 at the high end. So for 48,000, it's really low sale. Way undervalued. So again, another steal. As I said, highs and lows. This one's a low. Yeah, I don't know what happened here, but still a cool book. There are 60 of these on the census, and 49 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 3 on the list is Detective Comics number 1. This is from DC, 1937. It's a Vin Sullivan cover. And this is the first of the title, right? Just, DC Comics number 1. But this is such an important comic for DC that they literally named their publication after. They named their company after this book. So really important book. And it's, it's a cool cover as well. This was a 6.5 restored copy. And it's A2 restoration, which is slight moderate, but professional. And it sold for $52,800, which is not bad. The restoration include color touch, it was cleaned, and pieces were added to it. So, slight moderate. But this is one of those ones you can't unrestore it. Once it's cleaned, you can't unrestore it. Now, the previous record for this book was set back in June of 2021 for $48,000. So it's up about 10% from that prior sale. Reasonable sale. This one was a reasonable sale. Now, a blue label, just to give you a sense of how much this book can actually go for if it was not restored, a blue label sold in April of 2025 for $228,000. So just somebody cleaning your book or doing a little stupid color touch that probably didn't even improve the grade that much. You get 1/4 of the value. It's just so brutal. Definitely a big book though. There are 37 of these on census, and 17 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 2 on the list is Silver Streak Comics number 6. This is from Lee Gleason, and it's from 1940. It's a Jack Cole cover, and it is the very first appearance of Daredevil. Bart Hill. This is not the same as Marvel's Daredevil, but he is a classic character. He's actually mute in the Golden Age. So this is a cool character. He has the sort of the red and blue costume, And this is also classic claw cover. I mean, just I love this cover. It's like the claw always has the most gnarly hands. Just a really cool cover. Uh, this was a 9.6 white pager, so highest. This is the highest you can get on the census, and it was a pedigree. It was a mile high copy, so major book. And it sold for $228,000, which is a massive sale. This is just blows away all the previous sales for this book. Just massive. So, like there was a 3.0 that sold in April of 2025 for $18,600. There was a 4.5 that sold for $33,770 back in March of 2024. But we don't have any comparable sales to this one. This is the highest graded copy. People will just go crazy for it, and they did. Very strong sale. I would have expected maybe 100, 150, but this one just blew past that. A very strong sale for this book. There are 51 of these on the census, and 38 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 1 on the list is Flash Comics #1. This is from DC Comics 1940. It's a Sheldon Moldoff cover, and this is another major book. This book has a whole bunch of first appearances in it. Has the first appearance of the Flash, first appearance of Hawkman, has the first appearance of Johnny Thunder, has the first Serena Sanders, who later becomes Hawkgirl. So, and also has the Whip. So, a whole bunch of first appearances, major book, and classic cover as well. This is just a cool book through and through. This was an 8.5 that sold, and it sold for $396,000. Just a massive sale. Really big sale. This is the only sale in this grade though. But we do have some comparables. And though this seems like a really big sale just by the number alone, like, almost $500,000, big sale. Well, we can compare it to a few other things. We have a 5.0 that sold, and it sold in January of 2023 for $192,000. Now, if you do the price per point, which kind of works, the higher grades, there's a bit of a doubling effect, but we'll pretend that the price per point works for an 8.5. Well, the 5.0 sold for $192,000. Well, you'd expect that 8.5 would sell for around $326,000. So still strong sale. There was even a 0.5 that sold, and there's usually at the low grades, very low grades, people are just trying to get anything to get into the book. You'll get a little bit of a bump in terms of the value, but we'll still pretend that it's a price per point thing. Well, the 0.5 sold for $21,600 in May of 2025, and that would work out to being a price of 8.5 around $345,600. So again, this still is about 10% higher than either of those prices. So a strong sale. We at least end on a good note. This was a really strong sale. Just a big book. I mean, this is like Flash One, book that's high on my want list, but obviously way out of my price range. So just a great book. There are 95 of these on the census, and 52 of them are Universal Blue Labels. And that's it for this list. What did you think about this roller coaster ride? Watching the Heritage Auction Prime auctions. I'm a little bit surprised by some of these books. Like, some of these books I really love, and to see them go for like fractions of what they normally do kind of freaked me out. But then some have had big sales, so I don't know what's going on. What do you think? I'd like to hear your feedback in the comments below. And thanks again for watching. Bye for now.